Hello, hello, everybody. How's it going? Let me know when you can hear me. It is, oh goodness, January 29th, Friday, January 29th. This is your stimulus update and Q&A for this week. I'm Jamie Trull. I am a CPA. I am also a profit strategist and a financial literacy coach. So I have many titles. I am streaming this currently right now live on my Financial Literacy for Women Business Owners Facebook group. If you are not a member of it, go to jamietrull.com/group and join us over there because we're having lots and lots of great conversations and people are asking questions all about stimulus related things, as well as other important financial things that impact small business owners and entrepreneurs. So hi, Candy. Hi, Ray Ann. I see you guys. Tell me you're here if you see me. Also, I'm live right now on my YouTube channel. If you're watching me on YouTube, make sure to like and subscribe. And thank you very much. Hey, Marissa. Hey, Bree. Hi, guys. Okay, good. You guys are all joining. So I'll give a quick update. Usually at the beginning of these, I give a quick update on any changes, anything new, anything I've heard that might be helpful to you guys. And then I'm going to take your questions after that. So feel free to ask me whatever questions you have. Maybe you're trying to go for PPP forgiveness. Maybe you're trying to get the second draw loan. Maybe you're curious about any new news on the EIDL advance front, anything like that. Let me know what your questions are because I am here to answer them. And I am going to quickly actually show you guys my screen here in a minute, but wanted to give you a few thoughts on PPP as it is now open again. If you've gotten your PPP or if you have tried to apply for your second round PPP, let me know in the comments. I want to know who has started that process and how it's been going for you. But what I have heard is that some people are getting their money relatively quickly and seamlessly, whereas other people are either getting rejected or they're just not hearing back. And there are some strange things going on. So I did a little bit of digging into that specifically because I was trying to figure out what's going on. Why are so many people getting rejected, maybe with weird messages that don't really make sense for why you're getting rejected, or just aren't hearing back? So it looks like that about, call it 5% of people are getting kind of weird what's the word I'm looking for? Denial. I was like non-approval, denial reasons that are coming, and the banks aren't even really sure what's going on. And there are some technical glitches that they're trying to figure out. So it's been about 5% of people who are applying that it appears are kind of having some weird technical glitches that they're trying to work out. And it seems to be more on the SBA side than the particular bank. So I don't think it's certain banks that are necessarily having this issue, although I have heard of more issues in the fintech space, i.e. the PayPals and some of those seem to be running into it a little bit more. So we're not really sure what's going on, but hopefully that will, let's see. Oh, good. I'm curious to see, Marissa, how that went if you spoke to a loan officer, because that's been about 10 days. So you would think it would be a little bit quicker than that. Somebody else said applied and approved last Friday, still waiting on DocuSign. Yep. Candy has already had her second draw approved and funded. That's awesome. And I know, Bree, you're on here too. You have as well. So that's great. Yeah, so that's awesome. So if you're in that spot where you've gotten a weird rejection, talk to your bank and see if they know what it is. Some banks are just putting people through again to see if it works the second time, but they are working on some of those glitches from my understanding. The other glitch, and Jeannie says she's applied through Cabbage again, but she hasn't heard back. Yeah, so I would continue to reach out. The problem with some of the fintechs is they're a little bit harder sometimes to reach out to than maybe like your local credit union or something like that would be. I would hold out and see what happens. Hopefully soon there will be some traction on this. I also have heard one thing that is a technical glitch with the SBA is that in some cases, if you've already applied for forgiveness for your first loan, but haven't gotten that forgiveness yet, right? If it's kind of in that limbo time period, then you may kind of have an issue getting your second loan. That's not from the guidance. The act that was passed. The bill does not state that. The Treasury rules do not state that. They all say that you can still get it even if you haven't been forgiven. But it's just a technical glitch with the way the SBA's system is set up that it's kicking those back and it's not kind of allowing people to submit those into E-Tran. So if that's you, it may be that you got caught in this kind of limbo, and hopefully over the next week or two, they'll work out all of these kinks so that things can really start moving again. Because for some people it's going quickly, and for others it's not. And it seems to be somewhat by the bank, but it also, yeah. So like Chase applied to my bank and rejected due to needing documents proving in business on February 2020. So some people are getting that as well, where they want you to prove it. If some people are getting like a dormant business notice, so that's kind of weird. So I would talk to your loan. Let's see. I'm looking back through everybody's. I would talk to your loan officer and see, here's Bree's timeline. Bank sent the application on the 19th, got loan docs signed on the 22nd, signed them on the 23rd, a Saturday, and was funded on Monday. So there you go. That's a pretty dang quick turnaround. So I would just check back with your bank and see what's going on, but there are some glitches. So I don't think it's an issue of them funding certain people over others. I really don't think that that's what it is. I think the first round definitely had a lot of that, where the big banks were pushing through their big clients. But this round doesn't seem to be that way. And there's plenty of funding left. So I just want to say that. So I'm going to show you the report because I pulled this up. Now, this was the report as of last Friday, I guess, or the 24th. What was the 24th? Whatever day the 24th was. So we'll get another one probably at the beginning of next week. But I wanted to kind of show this to you guys about where we are today. So let me share my screen real fast. Okay. So this is this is from the SBA website. So it shows you sort of this summary. So this is all the PPP approved lending, right? Now, importantly, that includes all like the first and second round as well. I think what is more important to look at is this 2021 funding. So you'll see that there's been 400,000 loans approved for about $35 billion. So to give that some context, the total amount that has been set aside, earmarked for the PPP program in 2021 is $284 billion. So 35 has been used. So what is that? About, $250 billion, call it, left. Now, remember too, in the first couple of weeks, it's going to go faster. And then it's going to start to, that amount, what we saw last time was that first month or so, it went pretty fast. And then it really leveled out. So I would expect the same thing to happen this time, where it's not going to be necessarily $35 billion a week. But I'm curious to see when we get the numbers for next week, because more people did start getting funded this week, if those go up substantially. But the money's not out. It's not going to run out. So if you're worried about it, I would take a breath. It's going to be okay. It's not going to run out overnight. There is a lot of time. There's a lot of funds that are left to still be dispersed. And then the other reason I don't think that it is some kind of systemic thing where they're trying to put bigger businesses in front of smaller ones. I'll come down here and show you their states. So this is, again, all on the SBA website. Here's the loan size. So this is really interesting to see that 262,000, so over half, basically 65% of the loans given out thus far are 50K and under. So the vast majority are 50K and under. All right. Now, it doesn't necessarily make up for 65%, of course, of the dollar amounts. It's still a lower dollar amount because they're smaller loans adding up. But most of the loans going out are smaller. The overall average loan size is 87,000 overall. So I do think that they are prioritizing some of the smaller loans. If you're not getting yours, it's not because of those issues. I think it really is more technical glitches and the fact that they're a little bit overrun again, right? So whenever the portal reopens up, then it just, everybody rushes at once. And so they have to kind of work out the kinks and the glitches, and then these things will start moving a lot quicker. Let's see. So hopefully that's helpful, but I just thought there was some good information. I mean, also here have been the top lenders. So if this is interesting to you, it might be something to look into. Now, a lot of these are top lenders not because they're faster, but because they're just bigger banks. And I typically actually like the smaller banks. I recommend some of the smaller banks versus using necessarily like the Bank of Americas and things like that. But not surprisingly, most of the big banks are who have the most loans at this point in time. So there's just some good information. They publish this pretty much every week. So I'm going to start looking at this and just giving you guys the heads up each Friday on where we're at, specifically with the amount of funding that is left over. Okay. And actually, while I'm at it, I'm going to show you one more thing. Hold on. Keep going back and forth. Sorry if I'm making you guys dizzy. I'll show you one more thing. So the ABA, and this is where I got some of the information too, that there are some glitches. The ABA, which is the American Bankers Association, sent a letter to Treasury and the SBA this week with some of those things kind of written out that, look, here are some of the glitches we're running into. So this talks about the glitch where they can't get people who've already applied for a second draw or for a first draw forgiveness. They're having trouble submitting those second draw claims, right? And then it talks about the glitches and where they're basically getting some strange error message. So it says, more broadly, lenders are receiving a high number of incorrect error messages when lenders attempt to submit PPP loan applications through the portal. So it does seem like the issue is not as much on the lender side as it is on the SBA side. And the SBA and their system, their E-Trans system, which is what's used, seems to have some glitches that are impacting not a small number of people. So again, it looks like it's about 5% or so that are getting affected. That doesn't sound like a lot, but that's 1 in every 20 borrowers. That's a lot of borrowers that are getting impacted by things like this. Oh, good. M&T, a Buffalo headquartered bank. So yeah, so maybe M&T, I don't know if they work with people in various places, but oh yeah, and First Midwestern Bank. There you go. Were they on the list? I'm guessing they were. So hopefully that's helpful for you guys. Let's see. Somebody said I applied for first draw Blue Vine, January 13th, got approved yesterday. Okay, good. So they are moving. I mean, it took a little while. That's a couple weeks. Signed paperwork and just waiting for the funds to drop. I do think it's kind of just like what happened last time, which was this like rush, like race, and then wait. And then race, and then wait, right? So I do think they're working out those kinks. They did make some changes. So you would think like, well, heck, they already did this loan. Like, why aren't they working right now? Because they did them for many months and had worked out the kinks last time. Well, now again, they made some changes in how the processing works and the applications and all that. And so that's leading to some challenges. I don't know if you have the ability to cancel your application. That's one of the things, like if you can, I would most loan portals will allow you to log in and see the status, hopefully. Not all of them, some of them maybe not, but a lot of them will allow you to log in and see the status. And you can probably check on that and see what it's telling you. You can keep it in there and see what happens. Again, I'm thinking like, hopefully coming into next week, it's going to be, so it sounds like Blue Vine will let you cancel it. So hopefully by going into next week, then it'll move a little bit faster. But yeah. Okay, so let's see. What else do you guys want to talk about? So those are kind of the main things. I'm going to talk about the status on a couple other things really quickly here. So again, if you go to sba.gov/coronavirus relief. And if you don't have that bookmarked, it's a good one too. If I could actually spell it correctly, gov/coronavirus relief. It's got a lot of good information. So I'm going to just show you guys that for a second. So when you come here, you're going to come on down and it'll show you kind of information on all these different programs. Okay. So let's go to Shuttered Venue Grant Program. If that's something that you're waiting on information about, you're going to want to bookmark this page. Again, that was sba.gov/coronavirus relief. And right now, I believe it's still telling us, detailed information on eligibility requirements coming soon, and that they're not yet accepting applications. So I continue to just check back on this page just to see if anything has changed. Then on EIDL, which is another question everybody is asking about with the low income grants, about whether, now, importantly, this is where you may be able to increase the amount of the grant that you already received. So meaning if you're in a low income area and you already got an EIDL advance or grant, depending on what you want to call it, it's the same thing, the 1,000 per employee, you can actually get up to 10,000 if you're in a low income area and you can prove a 30% decline in income. So what they're doing, they're not going to reopen the portal. What they're going to do is reach out to people who qualify based on their address. Now, if your address was incorrect or if your address has changed, I don't know. They have not released any details on how you could update that or check on the status of that. But right now, they're still saying that they're going to reach out and that there's nothing to do. So let me know if anybody here's where it says it, they're called targeted EIDL advances. It keeps saying applicants do not need to take any action. SBA will reach out to those who qualify. So they've not given any other really any information about this. They just say don't send in another EIDL application. It's only going to be for people who have already qualified, and the SBA is going to reach out. I have not heard of anybody being reached out to yet, but let me know if any of you have, because I want to update people if that's already happening. Okay. So those are kind of the updates for right now and the things that I'm watching, but it's still we're still just watching. A lot of those things I think we'll have more information for hopefully by next week, because now we're going into, it's been over a month since this was passed, and we should have more guidance hopefully soon, specifically on those shuttered venue grants, because I think that those could be really good. And if you might qualify for a shuttered venue grant, and let me show you who that is, because I think this is important. The shuttered venue grants, you can't get them if you get a PPP. So some people are trying to decide, do I do the second round PPP or the shuttered venue grant? If you qualify for a shuttered venue grant, you're going to want to get this. Why? Because it's a 45%, let me look for it here, 45% replacement of income. Yeah. Eligible applicants who qualify can equal up to 45% of their gross earned revenue, up to $10 million. So 45% of your gross revenue is going to be a heck of a lot more than 2.5 months worth of payroll, right? It just is. So if this might be you, you would be eligible if you have a live venue operations or promoters. So it's not just venues, it's even promoters, right? Theatrical producers, live performing arts organization operators, relevant museum operators, zoos and aquariums who meet specific criteria, motion picture theater operators, talent representatives, and each business entity owned by an eligible entity that also meets those qualifications. You have to have been in business by February 29th of 2020, and you cannot have received a loan after December 27th, 2020. So you cannot get a loan, a PPP loan, if you want this. And it just keeps saying detailed information on eligibility. But this is huge for people that this relates to. Now, again, we don't have a whole lot of more information about who qualifies for this. They are going to be prioritizing based on the amount of revenue loss you had. So if you had a ton of revenue loss, they're going to prioritize you first and then on down. So it starts with people who've had 90% or greater revenue loss, then 70, then 25. What is unfortunate here, though, is that people who are like, well, I've had, let's say 50%, but I'm not sure if there's going to be money left in this, or if I should wait on PPP, but then what if I don't get this? So I think that's kind of unfair a little bit to do to people. So yeah, I think that's just a little bit of an unfair situation to put people in where they don't have all the information to make the decision they need on what they need to do. So it's really frustrating that they're saying, well, you can't get a PPP. You can't get this if you get a PPP, but we're not going to tell you how to get this or if you're eligible yet. Again, the PPP money does not look like it's going to be running out anytime like overnight. So you have some time here, but I'm just hopeful that they release something a little bit more, more substantive. Okay. Yes. Let me look back through, some of these questions. Yes, Veronica. So for the PPP application, I believe it's box 14A that you're going to use, and then you actually multiply it by 0.92 something. Partnerships are a little bit weird. If you go to treasury.gov, there is a document out there that actually tells you exactly how it is calculated for every different type of entity. So for you, it'll show you exactly, but it is your box 14A is what you're going to use for to determine your payroll as a partnership. Let's see. All right. Christine says, got PPP1 and will apply for forgiveness. Have EIDL of 150,000. Will this EIDL loan be a problem for me to get PPP2? Not only do we need PPP2, but my idea is to pay back EIDL and get PPP2 for forgiveness. So remember that, so here's where it gets tough with fungibility of money. It won't be an issue. You can't use them for the same things, and you can't directly use PPP to pay back EIDL. That's not a forgivable thing to do. Now, thinking about the fungibility of money, right? If you get PPP2 to pay your staff, right, the 60% that has to go towards payroll, and to pay rent and utilities and those kinds of things, that should free up money that allows you to pay back your EIDL. But it can't be the official usage, right? That's not how it works. But if you end up having money and can pay that back, there you go. So yes, it's not a problem, but just make sure that it can't be construed that you're using your PPP to pay off your EIDL, if that makes sense, because that would not be forgivable. Okay. The ERC update is that I have not yet. So what you're talking about is there's the employee retention tax credit. So I continue to mention to look at this. I think the best thing to do, because it's a very nuanced subject, and I think if you think that you may be able to get the employee retention tax credit if you kept your employees and your gross receipts were down quite a bit in 2020, I believe it's 50%, and then I believe it's 20% in 2021. There's a lot of caveats in here, you guys. I would talk to a CPA about this, because the calculation and how you're going to go back and claim it is going to get complex. And this specific topic is so nuanced that I don't like giving advice on it from from the standpoint of giving you advice via Facebook for it, because it is such a personalized thing, and the calculation is a little bit complex. So I am going to put out some more information about it, but if you believe that you should qualify, work with a professional, and I have a preferred vendors list you can go to, and they can probably help you figure out if you qualify for the ERTC. So jamietrrull.com/preferred-vendors. I just think that is such a nuanced subject that it's not really a DIY thing, if you know what I mean. Okay. Let's see. Let me drink my afternoon coffee while I read your questions. Yes, so PPP not running out yet, Celie. Yes, it should be easier, especially if you go through the same bank. It should be less documentation required the second time around. Chris says he hasn't heard from anything on the EIDL, and nobody from the SBA has reached out. I haven't heard of anybody getting reached out to yet, so I think you're in good company there. All right. Julia says, FFCRA, can you explain how it works now that it is volunteer? It works the same way. So FFCRA is where you can get essentially tax credits to pay your employees who need to be out due to COVID. Either they've tested positive, maybe their kids are out of school because the schools are out right now. So that came under FFCRA leave, where you could pay, specifically in the case of somebody getting COVID, right, or having to be quarantined, being ordered to be quarantined, you could pay your employee for 2 weeks worth of pay. I don't know if y'all can hear my daughter screaming upstairs. Go figure. Hopefully y'all can't hear it, but it's very distracting for me. Anyway, mom life, COVID mom life. So you could pay them for 2 weeks of pay at their regular rate of pay and then get a tax credit fully back. It was in 2020 required. You had to do that if you had under 500 employees. Now in 2021, through the end of March, you can still get that tax credit. And by credit, I mean it comes entirely back. It's a payroll tax credit. You get the full amount back. So it's not just a portion, not just the tax, it's the full amount that you get back. So if you pay somebody, $6,000 to, for COVID leave, you get that $6,000 back. So it makes sense for employers to do for sure. It definitely is going to make sense for you to do. It might be a timing difference. It's not required anymore, but I still think in most cases, I don't see why you wouldn't do it, right? Unless you just did not have enough cash to float you to when you get that reimbursement. I don't know why you wouldn't do it. I do have videos over on YouTube about it specifically. I'm very distracted by my screaming child. My mic, I need to find a way to shield that. All the moms are like, oh gosh. Y'all, she's not by herself. My husband is there. Anyway. Okay. So, good. I'm glad. Oh. And now my comments won't pull up anymore. Great. Here we go. It's the fun of technology and being a working mom. Found a new CPA from the preferred vendors list. Yay! I'm so glad. They are fantastic. We have some great ones. Here's one of them actually as well. Get help from a professional. Hint, hint. Go talk to Bree. It's not a DIY type of project for sure. Let's see. Yep. I would do it if you can handle it from a cash flow perspective. It also encourages them not to come to work sick because who wants that? So for you, Bill, as an S Corp, you only can use W-2 wages for yourself. So you cannot use your LLC or your K-1, your distributions. That's not going to count as an S Corp. The reason being for that, and a lot of people have been confused and frustrated by that you're saying, well, that is only a portion of my pay. I take a portion of my pay in distributions as well. You don't pay payroll taxes on your distributions. That's the benefit you get from being an S Corp, right? Is that you're saying basically my W-2 salary is my salary for working in the business. That's my payroll. My other income is not subject to payroll taxes because it's not payroll. It's basically more investment type income, right? You're getting it as sort of being an investor in your own business. Well, that's one of those situations where they're coming back and saying, yeah, okay, that's great that you also have that money, but you didn't pay payroll taxes on it. So the Paycheck Protection Program, which is for your payroll, you can't use that on it. Only the W-2 wages that you paid payroll taxes on. So this is where it kind of comes back a little bit on the S Corp owners. There are some S Corp owners, always make sure you're paying yourself a reasonable salary. A lot of people last year realized they had not been doing that, maybe didn't realize that they were supposed to and couldn't get PPP loans at all because of it. It's also a giant audit red flag if you don't have any reasonable salary. Let's see. Mark says, help 2 other friends, companies get their PPP2 apps in, but still waiting for Bank of America to open up ours. What's funny about that, Mark, is I just saw over on the thing that I was showing you guys about the biggest lenders, Bank of America is number 3. They've given out the 3rd most amount of PPP2 round 2 loans. I don't know. They should be open. If they're not, then you can go find somebody who is. There are other banks that people have recommended a lot of different banks in the group as well that you could go to if you're ready. But again, it's not going to run out tomorrow, so you've got some time if you want to wait it out and go through your own bank. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. If you're an LLC with no employees, i.e. an LLC or a sole proprietor, right? Self-employed, independent contractor, whatever you want to call yourself, and not an S Corp, can you still apply for PPP? Yes. You're going to get your Schedule C that's part of your tax return. So go find your 2019 tax return, find your Schedule C. That's where all your income and your expenses are for your business. Go to line 31. Line 31 is your net profit. That's basically your revenue minus all of your expenses in your business, your net profit. That's the amount that's your income from your business, basically. That's the amount you're paying payroll taxes on, your profit. Take that number, divide by 12, multiply by 2.5. That's 2.5 months worth of salary. That's how much you can get as a PPP loan. And you can get the entire thing forgiven as pay to yourself. So that's something that a lot of people miss the first time around. Absolutely, sole proprietors can and should get that up to $20,833. So that's the max if you have no employees, because it maxes at 100,000. So if that line 31 is more than 100,000, it's capped at 100,000. So yep. Let's see. Is there any relief for a business that took on rent? I added a studio to my business in November 2019. I don't think I qualify for PPP2 because I actually increased my revenue in 2020, but I've taken on more expenses due to adding office space in Q4 2019. Did you get the first one? I'd be curious if you got the first one, because you don't have to prove the 25% reduction to get the first round of PPP. That's only the second draw. If you're getting your second PPP loan, you do have to show that, but it just has to be 1 quarter versus 1 quarter. So if you have 1 quarter where revenue dropped enough, but overall, no. But if you didn't, so what I would say, and remember, you can use 2019 or 2020 to calculate out your payroll amount. Now, it used to be just 2019. Now you can also use 2020. But if you did not if your revenue increased and it increased every single quarter, then no, you can't. And you already got a first loan, then no. If you didn't get a first loan, or if you have 1 quarter where revenue, i.e. gross receipts, dropped by more than 25%, yes, you can qualify. Unfortunately, no relief well, it depends. If you just formed your LLC, but you were in business previously and filed taxes as a sole proprietor, let's say, yes, you can qualify. You don't need to be an LLC. If you just started business this year, then unfortunately, no. Let's see. I like this, Mark. Mark's in my financial fitness formula course right now. He says FFCRA for 2 employees in a strange way just helped you save money, right? Yeah, because it just paid for your employees that were on leave, and you don't have to pay them, out of your own funds. So it is interesting, especially if you plan to pay them for sick leave anyway, right? It's kind of just money in your pocket. You might as well do it. Documentation for the revenue reduction, you're going to show bank statements, potentially. You're going to show your P&L, if you've got your P&L, right? Or tax documents, because you can actually use the full year 2019 versus 2020 if you want to. If you know you're down at least 25% on the full year, you can use the full year. Most people, I don't think anybody has their taxes done yet for 2020. So that may not be much of an issue, but the SBA is not requiring that proof of the 25% reduction for PPP loan 2 if your loan's under $50,000 when you get the loan. They will require it when you go to get your loan forgiven. That said, a lot of banks are wanting it up front because they don't want to take the risk of giving you a loan and then you not actually having qualified for that loan to begin with. So you do want to make sure that you qualify for it. But there's a couple different things that you can show to prove it. Yay, Becky. I love it. Yay. I don't even think that they're taking, I think what Brie will tell me, it's February 12th or something. Is that the date that they're starting to take tax returns? I don't think you can even file yet. So I'm impressed, Becky. Becky took my financial fitness formula last year and she's taking it again with us this year, which is really exciting. All right, let's see. Stacy says, underfunded for PPP1. Now that Square has made it clear to me that they are not going to issue the remainder of the funds, should I just, oh yeah, that's right. I remember this from you, Stacy, because Stacy was fighting on this and I was cheering you on because a lot of banks are doing things they shouldn't do, which should not be surprising to us, you guys. I'm not anti-banks, but they're not following their own rules, or they're not following the rules that were set in the last act, specifically around the fact that you were supposed to be able to increase your PPP1. If it hadn't been forgiven, you should be able to increase your PPP1 if you didn't get as much as you were supposed to the first time. I've not heard of anybody successfully doing it, but if you have been able to do it, Stacy fought hard. I know she did. She's girl after my own heart. I would call 7,000 people to fight it. And they basically, if I remember correctly, they just came back to you, Stacy, and they were like, well, we can do it, but we're not required to. So we're not going to. Great customer service. Let's see. Should I just apply for forgiveness? Do you think there's any further benefit to waiting? I mean, if enough people complain that they're not, doing what they're supposed to do under that, then maybe they would make changes. And if you've already been forgiven, in general, you won't be able to increase the amount of your loan because your loan's not outstanding anymore. I don't know that a lot of people are aware of the fact that the act allows them to increase their first PPP loan. So unless it's a life-changing, like this would be a huge, massive help, it may not be worth the trouble. That said, you don't have to apply for forgiveness yet, you guys. I mean, there is nobody's forgiveness is due until at least April because it's 10 months from the end of your covered period. Now, I understand though the fact that like the weight can be, off of your shoulders, but especially if you think you're going to have to, if you think you're not going to be forgiven for a part of your PPP loan, I say wait as long as you can, because once you get forgiven for part of it, not all of it, your payments start being due, right? So why not wait? Because your payments don't start becoming due until 10 months after the end of your covered period, or when you have gone through the forgiveness process. So the longer you wait, the longer you can wait to put off those payments if you wait. Now, don't forget about it. You want to do it, but in most cases, there is no requirement to do it like right now. So I just keep seeing, like, they just keep making things easier and easier and easier. And the banks also just get used to it and can move through things faster. So the longer you wait, it just might be less headaches. Let's see. 7 days isn't that long. Again, they're really all getting slammed right now. So 7 days isn't long. Log into your portal and see if it tells you where it is in the process. And like I said, it's not gonna run out overnight. Let's see. If an employee stays home with their high school student who has to quarantine 10 days due to contact tracing, can the employee be paid via FFCRA? Yes, if they are required, if they can't be in childcare, then yes, I believe so. I believe that would fall under the expanded, under the childcare portion, that you should be able to do that. Now, again, you can't do it for the same employee if they've already used up their 10 days. So it's only like that 2 weeks per employee, and it doesn't restart at the beginning of the year. So like if they had to be quarantined a couple times last year, right? If they've already used up that time, you can't use it again. Although they could potentially, in this case, because it's related to childcare, tap into the expanded FMLA, which is part of the FFCRA. So probably so, yes. This is one of my favorite requests they keep making of people. Yeah. Keeping your own meeting minutes. A lot of lawyers tell you should do it anyway. I mean, I met with myself on January 29th. Like, okay. But yes, I mean, some of the things that they're requesting are pretty funny. An operating agreement with yourself. Yeah. Anywho, all right, guys, I got to most of them. I think I probably missed a few of them, especially if you asked me while my child was audibly screaming for all to hear. Do they ever stop screaming? Can someone tell me that? Like, when does that, like, she's almost 4 and still, like, does that go away ever? My first one wasn't so much of a screamer. So, well, there she is again. I think she needs mama. Okay, guys, y'all are awesome. Happy Friday. I will be back here next Friday for another episode of Stimulus Q&A. Oh, good. They do. Oh, good. When? Oh, good. Yeah. All right, y'all. Talk to you later. I'm going to go handle that situation. Me too. Bye, guys.